All right, and that opens us up to our meeting here at Humans Anonymous, episode 7. How are you doing?
7 already?
7. It's been an episode. Last time we talked about man stuff with a couple of my man friends. Did you watch the episode?
No, I did not.
Come on.
Sorry. I did have some people message me about your episode though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, it was a fun one.
Instagram
Aaron West, who is a new producer on the show, which thank you, Aaron, for producing this episode. Him and I and Nick, one of my friends, we got together and kind of just talked about what manhood is to us. And so, yeah, I'm not surprised that you had some people reach out, as everybody, I feel like, has a little bit different opinion on manhood and how that works. Today, we're talking about coping skills.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. Let's start here. What comes to mind immediately, like when you first think of coping skills?
Breathing.
Count to 10.
Yeah, or 3, or
take a walk.
Not even counting, just inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale.
Okay. So a coping skill for you would be what? Like when do you when we're talking about those things, what are you talking about using them? In like a time where you're super emotional, time of crisis, how do you use coping skills?
Not really crisis, but more of emotional state of mind. Like if I'm feeling stressed out or I feel like I'm overwhelmed, I basically will just stop what I'm doing, sit down, and try to breathe to calm myself. Just, and try to give myself a little pep talk, just like everything's okay. Just take a break and we'll try to do this again later.
Definitely. And like, that's what I feel like a lot of people typically think of when it comes to coping skills, is that one set of coping skills where we do things when we're emotionally elevated or when we're worked up to bring ourselves back down.
Yeah.
But something that I wanted to talk about, one of the other sides of coping skills that I've kind of picked up in doing therapy. This isn't even something that I really thought about up until I started counseling, but a lot of coping skills come before that time of crisis or that time of emotional elevation. A lot of coping skills are things like journaling. I was going to say, do you have some? I know we looked into this a little bit earlier, but there are a lot of the things that we do before we're in that time of crisis to prepare us to, kind of help us get ready for that. And I've got a few here that I saw when I was talking to my meditate. That's something that you do in your own time when you're
I don't think I've ever tried meditating.
Not super elevated. Give yourself a pep talk like you were talking about. Ask for support. And a big one for me that kind of stood out and that I've been working on through my counseling is setting boundaries.
Okay.
Setting boundaries for kind of everything in my life. I'm not going to do this. I am going to do this. And that way, when that time of emotional insanity comes up, because I get very emotional, get very worked up. I often have trouble controlling that. But when I've set that boundary for myself ahead of time of I'm not going to let this set me off, or I'm not going to act like this today, I'm not going to do this, it becomes a lot easier. And so like a lot of those coping skills have to do with way before the fact.
See, I'm bad at setting boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would that look like for you as far as like, where do you see yourself failing with that?
I tend to expect things to go a certain way. And when they don't, I stress myself out by telling myself, this is how you expected it to go. Why isn't it going in this way?
Exactly. And that's one of the things we had kind of talked about earlier too. One of those coping skills is lowering your expectations. And as maybe weird as that sounds, or like, we should always have high expectations, it's not really true. Because if you go into a situation, if you go into a conversation, if you go into a relationship with a bunch of expectations, you're just going to be constantly let down, because there's no way that things are always going to live up to your expectation. So don't set yourself up to be, disappointed. Don't set yourself up to set that expectation, and then when it doesn't happen, lose your cool.
Right. No, I get that.
Because that's a big thing I definitely struggle with, and I feel like a lot of people probably struggle with that. It's I have an idea in my mind of how things are going to go, especially approaching somebody with a difficult conversation. When you have an idea of how things should kind of go or how you would like things to go, and then they don't go that way, it becomes very easy for that conversation to turn into an argument.
Or like expecting someone to say, okay, so this is going to be hard to say. How do I word this? Like sometimes when me and you are having an argument and I expect you to say something and you expect me to say a different thing and we don't like each other's answers.
Yeah.
And it causes more fighting.
Yeah.
Is because we had that expectation of what the other person should be doing.
Yeah. And so a big thing that, yeah, I've seen in this whole coping skills thing, and over the last couple of years, learning a whole lot of new coping skills, it's like, adjust yourself before you even go into situations.
Yes.
You know, make sure that you're good. Do a little meditation, you know, call a buddy,
do
do something if you're going to be going into a stressful situation, because the definition of coping skills are things we do, their behaviors that we use to combat uncomfortable feelings.
Yeah.
So anytime we know we're going to go into an uncomfortable, stressful, elevated environment emotionally in any way, it's kind of on us to prepare ourselves for that. Because if I go in already on edge, if I go in ready to argue with somebody, it's probably going to happen because I know I'm going into a stressful area. And so like the whole idea of just, and Tony Robbins, I listened to him on a podcast the other day talking about, and I think I might have mentioned this, but talking about kind of setting yourself up for the day in the morning, talking about what you are grateful for, and kind of just putting all of those positive things in your head at the beginning of the morning, setting yourself for the day so that as you go through the day, when those stressful things do come, it becomes a lot more manageable. It becomes a lot easier because you've already set yourself up to have a good attitude, to think about the things that are positive in your life rather than the negative. And that one's like a really powerful coping skill for me that I've been using, you know, just getting myself okay in the morning, and it becomes a whole lot better to work through the day and get through stressful situations.
See, I would like to believe that one of my coping skills is cleaning.
You know, that I think that a dirty house is a stressful house.
Yes,
it is. And so definitely a coping skill could be making sure that the laundry's done, cleaning, doing the dishes, all of that stuff takes a lot of stress out of our lives.
Well, to me, a messy house makes my brain messy. Like I cannot function or even be here if this house is dirty.
Right.
And I have to clean it. Yeah. Like every day I'm like, what do I have to do next now? And constantly I'm picking up after the kids, you know, making sure that the
two cats and 2 dogs and 2 toddlers, you would think that our house was a mess.
It's not.
It's not. She's a clean freak and she vacuums all the time.
I am cleaning and picking up toys.
Like you said, I think that that's a really good thing to kind of keep in your pocket as a coping skill, because what happens when a stressful event comes around this house and the house is also messy?
Oh, I'm in bed. Good night.
Well, it just becomes a whole lot more difficult to handle those emotions and handle that stress when you've also got a dirty house and a messy mind. You know, like you were saying, if that's what helps you calm and clear yourself, honestly, then that's what you got to do.
Making sure that the dishes are done, the living room is clean, and everything is in place, and a candle is lit.
And see, it's funny because like the 2 types of coping skills we were talking about, like the ones we use in the moment versus the ones we're using beforehand, this is a coping skill that can be either. Yeah. Because how many times have you seen me get frustrated, taking the dog out or slamming my toe into the fridge or something, and the first thing that I do is I just start cleaning up and doing dishes, because it's good to occupy myself with something that I'm actually, you know, helping the house with, and it helps me feel better.
See, the first thing I try to do in the morning, especially if I've had like a rough night with the kids and you're at work, I'll get up and clean.
Yeah.
At like 8 o'clock in the morning, I'll start doing the dishes. I will sweep. I will mop. I'll do it all just before they even are done with breakfast.
Yeah.
I won't even make my coffee yet. I'll do all the cleaning first. Right. And then I'll relax. And then the house will get messy again. We'll get more dishes, and after lunch, I'm doing it all again.
Yeah, it'll always happen again. But no, so I think that that's a good point, though, that like sometimes those things that we maybe view as chores, can also be used as coping skills.
I don't see them as chores.
Well, but I'm saying that's what they are.
I know, yes. But I'm saying, like, to me,
in general,
these things have to be done or my day is not going to be okay.
Yeah.
That's how that works for me.
Well, and that's where your coping skills are going to come in with setting yourself up beforehand. Because what happens when the dishes aren't able to get done because you're busy all day? What happens when, the floor didn't get swept today and there's a little bit of sand on it from outside?
Ooh, and I step in it.
That's when you got to use those coping skills that you already been using to handle that situation. Yes. And obviously nobody's perfect. We all, act certain ways or freak out every once in a while. But as we learn those coping skills and actually implement them into our lives, it becomes a lot easier to handle situations when they come up.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you. You brought up something to me that was a little bit interesting about kind of two forms of coping skills as far as like emotional and physical.
Well, technically there are 5. But
let's talk about those two real quick.
That's what I was going to say is technically there are 5, but I'm going to talk about the 2 main that are actually used the most. So the first one is problem-based coping. This coping skill is helpful when you need to change your situation, perhaps by moving a stressful thing from your life. So that could mean anything from like friends or maybe moving from a different state or moving jobs even. For example, if you're in an unhealthy relationship, your anxiety and sadness might be resolved by ending the relationship.
So that's direct problem solution type coping skills.
Yes. So the second one is emotion-based coping.
And that's like what we've been talking about.
Yeah,
right?
So this is the correct definition. I have it on my phone. I shouldn't say definition, but
it's a definition of emotion-based coping.
Yes.
Go ahead.
It is helpful when you need to take care of your feelings, when you either don't want to change your situation or when circumstances are out of your control. For example, if you are grieving the loss of a loved one, it'd be important to take care of your feelings in a healthy way, since you can't change the circumstances. So I think we can all relate to that. Losing someone that's very close to you. It's just about understanding your own feelings and finding a way to not only take care of yourself, but also to make sure that the people around you are not getting I don't want to say aftermath, but there's like 5
negative effects.
The negative effects of you.
Yeah. Well, and like we've talked about so many times, being new parents, and we find it very hard to balance between taking care of ourselves and taking care of our kids. But if we're not taking care of ourselves, ultimately and I know that these are harsh words, but we're either hurting, damaging, neglecting our children because we don't have as much as we should to give them. And I don't mean that they're going without food or love or a bed to sleep, but I mean, we could be giving them more because we're not taking care of ourselves to the full extent. So once we start taking care of ourselves, then we can pour back into our kids. And so, it just becomes this situation where regardless of what you want to do, you have to take care of yourself. You have to.
I have some more things.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah.
I know we don't want to go too long. Okay, we're only 10 minutes.
Okay.
We're going to get a little bit more personal here as far as like you and stuff. I know that after your mom passed away in 2017, you had gone to counseling after that. Did you pick up or learn any type of like coping skills when you were going through any of that you either ignored or didn't ignore?
Honestly, 6 years ago, the only thing I can actually remember from that counseling at that time was all the things that they told me was wrong with me.
Gotcha. So that's probably all that you were allowing to go into your brain. You probably were just, it was probably difficult to take any sort of advice or hear from them when they're just telling you have all of this stuff wrong with you.
If you look back, I didn't have any coping skills besides one thing. And we both know that was alcohol.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the smartest way, but that was the only way that I knew how to cope back then.
Well, and that's that's one of those learned coping
Yes.
skills. Like, not all coping skills are good.
No.
I coped for a long time by just smoking a lot of weed or taking a
Yes.
lot of drugs. And those are negative coping skills, obviously. But when you grow up just seeing your family go through tough times and just drink to numb it up.
Yeah.
That's all, and I'm sure that there were other people doing other things,
Right.
but when that's like the main thing that people go to, if, and that's been the case for a lot of my friends with, weed, marijuana, it's like their entire family smokes weed all the time. And so they've smoked weed since they were 13 with their parents. And so how do you come up with a different coping skill when, that's been the only one that everybody in your family uses? And so obviously you can break that chain and get out of it. But
And another thing that wasn't healthy for myself was I stopped going to counseling. Gotcha. I would cancel appointments all the time because I would just want to sleep.
Yeah.
I didn't have, I shouldn't say support. I just didn't talk to anybody about anything. So I kind of just dealt with myself, and that's where a lot of the negative stuff came out is my family started seeing me drunk and stuff, and it wasn't a pretty sight. So, but that was,
and I know just for clarity here, I know that phase of your life was very short, right?
Very short.
Yeah, I know that was not something that your body was able to sustain for more than a year or so. And so I know that wasn't very long. So going back to that, original question, like, what do you think would have been different if you would have known some of the coping skills? Do you think that it would have made it easier? Because like you've got the firsthand experience.
Well, I mean, knowing what I know now, if I would have, like, the things that I know now, being a teenager who had just lost her mother to an overdose, by talking to a counselor, I felt like instead of telling me what was wrong, they should have given me solutions on how to help fix myself. And I shouldn't say even fix, but help heal. You know what I mean? And I felt like that wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And
obviously it doesn't sound like you 100% were giving it a shot.
I wasn't.
But I 100% get what you're saying,
17
too, because
years old.
Myself being through plenty of different treatments and rehabs and stuff, I've been to places before where it seems like the whole first week is just them telling you all of the things that is wrong with you and that you need to start all of this medication
yeah,
for.
Stuff like that. But knowing what I know now, it's good to have people that you can talk to.
Definitely.
I feel like now I should have talked to Janie, my adopted mother. She adopted me after my mother passed away. There was a lot of things that I could have talked to her about, but I didn't. Even my sister Jasmine.
Yeah.
Me and her are so close today. She knows everything about me. But back when all of that stuff was going on, and after my mom died, and after I started drinking a lot, I just stayed away from everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that was the worst thing I could have done.
That's a terrible coping skill, is isolating.
Yes. And that's all I did.
Terrible one.
Yeah.
But no, that's good. I appreciate you kind of opening up about that. I know that's not fun to talk about.
It's not.
I appreciate you getting into that. But I know there was one more thing that you wanted to talk about. I just kind of want to try to cover as much along the lines of coping skills as we can, because there was so much that I didn't understand about coping skills that I feel like, to the viewer out there that feels like, stuck or whatever, there are lots of options out there to help yourself get unstuck and to help yourself start feeling better. And I wish I would have known a lot of the things that I use every day now a long time ago. And so what do you got?
So back to, our main point in coping skills, there are some certain ways that I wanted to explain on things that are so easy that you possibly are just missing to help yourself with the coping skills. So one is accept where you are now. Like where you are in life, just you need to accept it,
well, and that's like a big thing, if you don't mind if I interject here.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. We're with the MWA troop. We travel from school to school. And, we talk about a lot of this stuff, and we give messages to kids about a lot of different stuff. And one of the things that we talk about that's huge is accept where you are now, but also celebrate it.
Yes.
Because you've been through a lot to get there. And so I really, really like that.
Like, it's, it says, know where you are is okay. Healing is not a straight line.
And you are okay.
Yeah. Healing is not a straight line. You're going to have ups and downs. Some days are going to be really good and some days are going to be really bad. And from my point of view, it's like that often. And if you want me to be honest, I always have to tell myself, where you are now is okay. You don't need more than what you have now, and you don't worry about having any less.
I had the opportunity about a decade ago
Mm-hmm.
to meet with a really, really cool guy named Joel Klausing.
Okay.
And his son was, I believe, 17 years old when he died of a heroin overdose.
Okay.
And when we were meeting with him, me and Ray Moffitt from the MWA Troop, and another kid, I believe it was John Chambers, who passed away a few years ago from a motorcycle accident.
I remember we went to the funeral.
Yeah, but we got the opportunity to meet with them. One of the questions we asked him is, what would your son say to anybody, any kid out there, who's struggling with anything?
Mm-hmm.
What would he say if he were here with us today? And he said that, and I'm going to choke up because he said that he would say that you are enough. And as simple as that is, man, it's powerful.
It is. It's very powerful.
You are enough.
I mean, look
at
this.
Where you are is enough,
I have little sticky notes in my journal that says, love yourself, Amaria. You are enough. Keep going. I have a thing about mindset in here that says to read daily.
So I'm glad that you brought that point up.
Yeah.
Because that's good. And to anybody out there who's struggling, who feels like they're not in the right place doing the right thing, I promise you're where you're supposed to be. You might need to be on your way to somewhere better, but where you're at is a lot farther than where you were.
Yes.
And always remember that you are enough. All right, what's the second one before I start bawling over here?
The second one is take care of your body. Now, I'm going to speak to this one.
I like a lot of candy.
Yes, Landon likes candy. But what I'm going to speak to this is I still isolate myself. I don't shower enough, and we talk about this. I don't stink, but I definitely don't do anything because
it's not like you're going out around the town like smelly or anything.
No,
like if you need to go somewhere, you shower. But yeah, that's one thing. If we're gonna put it all out there, yeah, sometimes.
Well, that's the point.
Well, and like I do the same thing. Sometimes I'll come home from work and go right to bed.
Well, I'm saying I make it an excuse. I make it an excuse to where I can't do anything because I haven't showered and I don't have time to shower. So we're not doing this today.
And that's cool that you brought that one up too, because we've obviously talked about this one before, but it's like every time that you do go to the gym, go play some basketball with your friends, go for a run, take a shower, get your nails done, whatever it is to take care of yourself, you always feel better. You're not going to feel worse. You might feel tired after the gym, but you're going to feel good for going.
It has some PowerPoints here that says get enough sleep, get on a regular sleep schedule. We're not going to talk about that. If it's safe, spend time outside.
Okay.
And play sports you enjoy or other types of exercise, even if it's just stretching or walking.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. So do something physical to get your body going. And that's like, who was I just hearing talking about this the other day? Just something about like how, it was, I saw this clip of a monk. He was talking about how people back in the day.
Monk talking?
Yeah, he was talking. He wasn't on a silence thing.
Okay.
He was talking about how depression wasn't really a thing a long time ago. It was, but it wasn't like it was today because people were just working all the time.
Right.
And after they'd come home from work, they would have a long list of things to do to prepare for the evening. And then after that, a long list of things to do to prepare. And they were always doing something. So their mind never had time to become depressed.
Okay.
They were constantly doing something physical, and like hearing that and then hearing this, it's like, absolutely. You start to be more physical. You start to get yourself into doing other things and get your just yourself more active. You're going to have less room for all of those other negatives, feelings and emotions.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I get what you are saying. But so basically depression is most of it is a chemical imbalance.
I think that you are referring to something that maybe you don't have all of the information on.
Maybe.
I would say that there's definitely, and that's why I'm saying, like, it's not that depression wasn't a thing, but it wasn't at all what it is now. A lot
Right.
of depression, and even chemical imbalances come over time. It's
Okay.
not always something you're born with. And I'm not a doctor and I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or anything. And so I don't know, 100% on that, but that's just something I heard. And I thought that that was, an interesting
Well,
point.
you're always watching videos and stuff like that, talking to me about them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am. I tend to do that.
And I tend to
scroll.
just put my own personal opinion in there. I have two more, just two more points that I want to put out there.
Real quick before that is a good thing that you brought up, and it's something that we touched on earlier in the episode talking about medication. I don't think that there is anything wrong with taking medication, because in a situation where you do have a chemical imbalance, there are things that you can take, and so just because I'm not taking medication or you're taking medication doesn't mean that I don't think that medication is good. I think that it's for some people, and it's, it doesn't work for other people.
No, yes, and I completely get that. Like
I just didn't want it to seem like I'm trying to say medication's bad or anything like that.
Me on the other side, I've taken medication after a very long time of dealing with my own things. I decided maybe this could help, and it did. But that doesn't mean further down the line.
Yeah, and I've used medication at times to get through certain times in my life, and so yeah.
Let's get
I'm
back
sorry,
on
I didn't mean
point.
to sidetrack.
The second thing is take care of your mind. I mean, the third thing. Sorry, the third thing.
The second thing.
Yes, take care of your mind. It has some power.
Your brainium.
It has some PowerPoints here that some things that we've already discussed.
Just hit me with a couple new ones.
Okay. Take a break from news or social media if it stresses you out.
That's a good one. I'm not. and you aren't either. We're not news people.
No.
And like around election season, I always feel like weird because I have no idea really what's going on. Yeah. But
I just like this one person. Let's just vote
social
for him.
media, 100% I can get that. There are times where I'm just stuck and like I can't get out of just death scrolling is what we call it, right? I think that's the word that we're using for it nowadays. Death scrolling. I'll sit there and I'll watch about 150 stupid, pointless videos that just made me smile or laugh a little bit.
Right. And what I try to do, and it doesn't always work, but what I try to do is I try to keep myself occupied with the kids more than
that's easy when you're a mama.
But I'm saying, like,
but for the masses here.
So like, instead of being on my phone all day, I will have, I like to play on my phone at night after the kids go to bed.
Yeah.
I'll have that 1 hour. It's between 11 o'clock to 12 a.m.
Well, you have to do it like I do video games. I don't have time to play video games. And like, that's kind of how.
My phone will even tell you my average screen time on my phone is only an hour and a half.
Yeah.
A day.
Yeah.
That's it. And so, I have that one little set time for myself after the kids are in bed and I'm already settled down for the night.
I just want to sit on this one for a while. Not for a while, but like, we don't even need to talk about it. Let's just talk about this one. Take a break from social media. That's something that I am saying I have a large opinion on. I think that people need to take a break from social media every once in a while. I think I need to take a break from social media every once in a while. I think it's hard, but I mean, the whole point of doing that is getting outside of this artificial.
Well, it's 2024. There's new phones coming out. There's always new gadgets that everybody wants to get. I don't even know how to work my phone. Okay. And I grew up with phones. I had you set up my phone. The only things that I am ever really interested on my phone is to text my sister. That's about it. I don't have any other friends that I really Snapchat. Yeah. I don't talk to anybody on Messenger.
I'm talking about the scrolling through Instagram, the looking through Twitter. I think that, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying in general, this is something that, man, everybody is stuck in their phone on social media, worried about how many likes they're getting or comments or whatever it is, worried about how people perceive them online
Right.
more than how people are perceiving them in the real world, which is crazy too, because you meet people online, you see people online, and then you meet them in person and they're a completely different person.
Yeah, sorry, nothing
And
alike.
so I would definitely encourage you guys, take a break. And I'm not saying that that's everybody who uses social media, but if you find yourself feeling like you need to stop using social media or take a break, then it probably means that you should.
I would say, if you
I
feel
think that
like
it's
you've been
always
on your
good
phone
to
too
get
long, you
outside of,
probably have.
yeah, and I think it's always good to get outside of that world and kind of check yourself again. I'll from time to time just take everything off my phone and just have my, just my phone and text app.
I mean, even, like I'm always losing my phone because I'm never on it.
Yeah.
I never have my phone because I don't have anything to be on there
like
for.
I said, as parents, it's a little bit different because we have a lot more responsibility to be vigilantly watching our children.
Yeah.
But I mean, half the time they have my phone.
Yeah.
And so I think that that is a really good one for anybody listening today. Like, even if it's just for a day, even if it's just for the afternoon, just put it away and say, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to go to the library and sit on a beanbag chair and read a book. Like,
exactly. Come on. I do have one more on here, and it's kind of something that we did talk about, but I really want to push this.
Hit me with one more before we wrap it up.
No, it's just a PowerPoint from the taking care of your mind.
saying let's do this and then we'll wrap it up.
Celebrate large and small successes.
Okay. Yeah, like we were talking about before. So expound on that.
I really want to really make this one a big deal. Even small successes, like I could say, like I did shower yesterday. That was a success for me, because being in the state where I do isolate myself and I basically wear the same shirt for 3 days. It becomes like more of a routine than it should, and even just showering is an accomplishment for me.
Oh yeah.
Getting in that shower and making, it makes me feel so much better about myself. Or like even today, this morning I woke up and I was in sweatpants and a sweatshirt. You made me buy a shirt today to wear on this podcast. I put jeans on and I brushed my hair. That was a very small accomplishment.
And you feel good, huh?
I feel great. I'm going to go to counseling like this.
See, there you go. And so here's some first-hand experience. How'd you feel when you woke up this morning before you did all that?
Crappy.
There you go.
I did not want to do anything.
And so those are the coping skills that we forget about a lot of time, is just taking care of our mind, taking care of our body.
Eat correctly.
Eating correctly.
I don't eat very much.
All of those really easy things that we're like, oh, those aren't the things that have me all messed up. It's all of these big things. No, it's the little things that are making the big things stressful. It's all of those little things that are adding up. And then as soon as a big one comes, that is going to break the dam loose and everything's getting flooded, Yeah. And so, I think that we covered a lot. I think that was a good episode.
I honestly am proud of myself right now.
Yeah.
I feel like I did a lot in this episode that I've done in a while.
Yeah, I think it's a good episode. I think that we got a lot of good information out there. And I think that it's just good to be reminded, coping skills aren't always on the backside of things. We don't use coping skills just to deal with things once we've exploded. No. And I'm so bad at it. Like, I just to be honest with you, like, I do things in my life, but still when those, big events come up, those big emotional times come up, sometimes I'm still emotional. Yeah. And it's very, very hard to remember to, because I feel okay. Yeah. If I feel okay right now, why do I need to meditate? Why do I need to write in my journal? Why do I need to call my sponsor? I feel fine right now. I'll call him when I'm feeling like I need, but no, if we handle things now, if we do those coping skills now, then when that desire in the back of my head starts going, stop at that bar, you could play slots there and get a beer. Like, I'm ready for that.
Well, you came home.
I'm prepared for that.
You came home the other night and I told you, like, you came home and I was writing, remember? And I told you, I was like, I already wrote everything that I felt like I needed to write, but I feel like I need to write more. And that's why I'm just writing the same sentence over and over again. Yeah. Because I felt like I wasn't done with the way that I was feeling, but I had no more to write. And I didn't want those feelings to stay there and me just be angry about them. So I just kept writing.
That's a really good way of putting it. Coping skills are a way for us to deal with those uncomfortable feelings so that they don't have to stay there.
Yeah. And you saw, like, I didn't even talk to you when you hardly got home. I was just like, I told you that exact sentence and I kept writing.
Yep. And I was like, it's okay. I've had a long night at work.
So, I mean, you know, I didn't want to feel that way. Even though I had gotten everything out in my journal, I still felt like it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So I just chose one thing that I felt like I needed to do, and that was continue writing, even though I had nothing else to say.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And eventually I felt okay. I am okay.
You are okay.
So
for anybody out there who is listening, remember that A, you are enough, and B, when you don't feel like you're enough, there's a lot of stuff in this episode, a lot of things you can find online, a lot of help that you can get to help you with those times when you don't feel like you're enough. Because as sucky as it sounds and as sucky as it is, there's going to be times where you feel that way.
yeah.
And coping skills are how we prepare ourselves for dealing with those situations.
There's nothing that we can really do to help our feelings. We are human, but there are ways that we can try to eliminate the feeling for a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, so that we're not feeling it all the time.
Yeah.
So
just dealing with those emotions rather than letting them overtake you. And right at the end of our episode, Mr. Blue is making an appearance. I don't think that he can be seen, can he?
No, but he's hitting his tail on the door.
Oh, I saw a tongue.
Great.
That's our 100-pound pit bull. He decided to come into the room at the end here. Well, I do want to thank anybody who's out there checking us out on the YouTube or watching us or listening to a podcast. Thank you for watching or listening today. Mama didn't think that was funny, did she?
No.
That's all right. As always, thank you, Aaron, for producing today. And we'll see you guys next time on Humans Anonymous.
Thank you.